aim of becoming the leadership of the world, taking over the leadership of the world, they also seem to be having a global mindset with the kind of footprint that they have created all around. And they have a great ability to envision and execute very large projects that the whole world holds in total awe. For example, the high-speed train which created history between Shanghai to Beijing. I think it takes about less than 10 minutes between the two cities. No, the fast high-speed train, that anti-magnetic train. Then they have created a new Pudong city. Then they have promised themselves 100 green cities, and the definition of a green city in China is that it is a zero carbon footprint city. The amount of energy that it consumes will be the same amount of energy in terms of the carbon that it would be able to replenish. China is also now, we remember the famous Olympic spectacle that we saw both on TV, and some of us were lucky to go and see it. Also the conquering of Africa for its natural resource controls. And I think what has led over a period of time is this concept of Beijing consensus as being one of the models that has succeeded for their environment. For some of us in India who are deeply disappointed, and that too repeatedly, with our elected leadership in India, China is a source of national inferiority complex for some of us. We, as many of us know, we can certainly do better than what we are able to do. And I think somewhere the system that we have is not able to play catch up with China. And I think over the last 10 years in business, we have repeatedly seen the differences between China and India is increasing each day rather than decreasing each day. With regard to China and India relationships, most of our views are formed by what we read. And as I mentioned, the only thing that most of us read is watch the TV and read the newspapers. And what do you read about China? If I have to take a bird's eye view of the 7 or 8 things that have hit the headlines and have been the topic of discussion, both in business as well as in social circles, it is that China, with the overhang of the old 1962 war, has questioned our PM's visit to the Northeast. It has created the objections to us for the visit of the Dalai Lama whenever we pamper to his visit, as they call it. It has helped Pakistan for its nuclear material and technology. It has used our neighbors to keep some kind of a boundary check on us. The papers have created the impression that, the issue of visas in Kashmir, you remember the issue of stapling of visas? They are also planning to build a gas pipeline, about which we were very keen to do through Pakistan. And it appears that, more or less they are belligerent, and more or less they are saying that if you want to deal with us in China, it will be by and large on terms of the Chinese. This is the mindset that I have found repeatedly in all our interactions in business and in the social circles that we meet about, how China is going ahead and how belligerent is China. And what does it mean to have a neighbor like China, both economically and politically? Now, today is a day where we are going to break some of these myths and at the same time deal with the realities on the ground. And I think the business realities of the ground are quite different from the impression that we have gathered so far today. I am very happy that it is important in the context of China that since it is important that we understand both the political and economic dimensions in China, especially for China, in order to engage and understand that country well. We have with us 2 speakers who are both brilliant in their own way. One who's retired ambassador, Mr. Gopinathan, and I will introduce him very briefly. And Mrs. Das, who up till now, as mentioned by Mr. Agarwal, recently been in Shanghai and has a working knowledge of the commercial aspects of what are the ground realities of doing business. And she has a lot of tips for us as to how to engage with Chinese business people. So all in all, I think it will be a very promising session where most of us will be enlightened at the end of the day, away from the myths that have been created in our mind, away from the fears that we have in our minds, into the world of reality. And I hope this engagement takes really good shape as we progress further. With these few words by way of introduction, let me take the opportunity to introduce to you formally our retired ambassador A. Gopinathan. He was former ambassador to Egypt and a permanent representative of India in the United Nations at Geneva. He had joined the Indian Foreign Service in the July of 1977. He served in the Indian missions in Egypt, Qatar, New York, Sri Lanka and Mauritius, and as Director General was also responsible for UN and international organizations at the headquarters. He was Ambassador and Permanent Representative of India at the UN offices. He is Inspector Designate, Joint Inspections Unit of the United Nations Geneva, and is scheduled to take up his assignment from the 1st of January 2013. May I request a round of applause to welcome Ambassador Gopinathan. And may I invite you, sir, for your words of wisdom for all of us today morning. There is a short film on Indo-China business relationship. Much of it has been crafted and scripted during the time of Ms. Das, and I think it's a very important film that will set the tone of the day. So we'll have the film now.
Now we shall have screening of short documentary film on India-China economic cooperation.
"20 years after liberalization, the Indian economy has grown to become one of the largest in the world. Since the turn of this century, India has achieved a consistent 8% growth, becoming one of the most attractive business destinations. While earlier it was global corporations from Europe and the United States, today Chinese companies are coming in to do business in India. They know that with a 1.2 billion population, India is the second largest market in the world today.
India's economy has been growing very fast in the past decade.
Indian market quite help us to expand the business all over the world.
In one word, I think the future is very bright.
India is the second fastest economy in the world today, and several sectors have been opened up for private enterprises to help meet the rising demands. Infrastructure is seen as a key area for achieving high growth. Given their experience on mega projects, Chinese companies have a good understanding of this business. SANY Group manufactures construction equipment. It believes that investment in infrastructure is going to increase manifold in the near future.
印度政府决定投入1万亿美元，在下一个5年计划，在各个工程机械项目这个建设上面，这是一个方面，政府具有很强大的决心。第二个方面是我觉得这个市场的发展来源于这个市场的本身的发展的需求。印度在这几年跟中国一样，都处于高速发展阶段，但是实际上到现在，印度的城市化率还不是很尽如人意，还有越来越多的人口需要移居城市里面去，共同分享所现有的一些资源，包括教育、医疗、就业等等。所以在未来，我认为在未来10年到20年之间，印度市场仍然会受惠于这么一个巨大的城市化率所提供的对市场的巨大的基础建设和建筑的需求。
A distinct advantage India offers global companies is a large pool of technically skilled workforce. This convinced SANY to set up a new factory in India rather than importing their machines from China. At this facility, the company is able to make products to specifications that their Indian customers need at lower costs. Local workers join hands with their Chinese counterparts to deliver world-class machines that are needed for projects all over the country. The Indian automotive market is one of the fastest growing in the world today. The country has emerged as a regional manufacturing hub for the international automobile giants. YAP has been the leader in automobile fuel tanks in China. So when they were looking to expand, India was the ideal choice.
Entry into India was very systematic, very timely, and fairly economical. You approach a single window to get all your clearances to put up a plant. The system is very efficient, and it was done very smoothly. So setting up of the plant was with fair amount of ease, both from the construction side and approvals and permissions from various bodies and government departments. So I think this gave a lot of confidence to YAP to enter India, and they felt that yes, business could happen in a fairly smooth manner.
One of the challenges of entering a new market is that one is not experienced about the local business culture. YAP decided to partner with an Indian company to create YAP Zoom. This synergy worked, since the local partner had a better understanding of the challenges in the market, while YAP brought in the latest technology. The first factory is already profitable, and based on this experience, YAP is now planning to set up more facilities in other parts of the country. While India had been self-sufficient in steel earlier, rapid growth in infrastructure projects has meant a huge jump in demand for steel products. The government of India has opened up the mining and steel industry for experienced global players. Many Chinese companies have set up facilities in India to help meet this gap in supply and demand of steel.
在2006年，我们到印度进行考察的时候，发现这个印度的市场非常不错。首先，印度它拥有和中国类似的这种人口；其次呢，印度它的铁矿石资源是非常丰富的，是世界3大铁矿石出口国之一。另外呢，印度的钢铁行业和中国比较起来呢，它的发展没有中国那么快。在2006年的时候，印度全年的钢铁产量在5000万吨到6000万吨，但是当时中国的钢铁产量已经达到了5亿到6亿这样的规模。因此呢，作为钢铁行业的从业者之一，我们发现印度这个市场是从事钢铁行业非常不错的一个市场。因此，我们决定到印度进行投资，联合中国五矿集团一起到印度进行投资，从事这个钢铁行业。
One of the apprehensions that global companies start with is that projects take a long time to take off in India due to communication problems and differences in work culture. Ex-India face no such issues at this steel plant. Chinese personnel working with Indian technicians have been able to start production at this plant within a year, sticking to their timeline. They hope that this teamwork will help the company grow in India in the coming decades. Chinese companies are finding success not just in core industries, but also in new technologies. Huawei, the world leader in telecom equipment, was one of the earliest entrants into India. It has been a partner in the telecom growth, providing cutting-edge technology to mobile companies in India.
Huawei's journey in India started as early as decades ago, when we established our first and largest R&D center outside China in Bangalore in 1999, which currently employs more than 2,000 technical professional and manager staff there. And over the years, Huawei India has been developed into the second largest single country operation for Huawei Global, only next to China, and with more than 6,000 employees, and 90% of which are local hired.
With India reaching 800 million telecom subscribers, there is a huge potential in this sector. 3G and 4G services are on the anvil, and the telecom companies can see the opportunity in this market.
We can see in next 2 to 3 years, the barrier network of operators has to be improved, or we say modernized, to carry more traffic, just because of the subscribers will take more, will use more traffic throughput. So this could help us to bring our innovative barrier network solution to the operators.
Emboldened by the success of these companies, the government of China is encouraging more Chinese enterprises to come to India.
For Chinese investors, many sectors in India, such as machinery and electronic products manufacturing, infrastructure construction, telecommunications, power and water supply, automobile, metallurgy, pharmaceutical industry, financial and non-financial services, so on and so forth. contain very large or very huge opportunities, and coupled with a robust domestic demand, a growing middle class and a young population, make India an attractive investment destination.
The success of these enterprises in India in the last decade has shown that Chinese companies can do business here since they have experience in working in a large market like China. India can benefit from the experience and technological know-how that these companies bring into the country. This is a partnership whose journey has just begun. We hope this will deepen as India and China continue to increase cooperation in the coming decade.
I feel like quoting one stanza, though the earth is round and round, east is east and west is west. We have seen the economic cooperation between two eastern countries in the field. Now, I request Mr. A. Gopinathan, former ambassador to Egypt and permanent representative of India to the United Nations Geneva, to address us. Mr. A. Gopinathan.
Mr. Agarwal, Mr. Parekh, Mrs. Reva Das, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'm very grateful to the Sardar Patel Institute of Public Administration and the Pan IIT Gujarat Alumni Association and the Public Diplomacy Division of the Ministry of External Affairs for giving me the opportunity to share with this distinguished audience some personal reflections on Indian foreign policy overview and challenges. Before I begin, if I may make a couple of remarks. First of all, a subject such as Indian foreign policy is too vast and too complex. Scholars, academics have devoted life